I think people have become very dependent on their mobiles. Like, I can't go out without my mobile.
The Aussie addiction to mobile phones.
How many calls do you make?
About 200 a month.
How big's your bill?
It's a lot.
And the challenge to survive without one for a whole week.
My mobile is the main thing in my life.
Oh, I reckon I'll go insane.
Good evening, that story shortly. Also tonight, the repeat drink driver who walked free while his badly injured victim didn't even rate a mention in court. And shares versus property. Paul Clitheroe's guide to weighing up the better investment. But first tonight, getting tough on firebugs. Under new laws in New South Wales, anyone who deliberately lights a bushfire, even children, will face a minimum 5 years jail. But while the majority of fires already dealt with this season have been started by arsonists, some critics claim these new penalties are over the top.
These people who light these fires, I think they enjoy seeing the excitement, seeing the smoke, seeing the flames, hearing the fire engines, the fire trucks coming, the lights and the sirens. But not for a moment do I think they contemplate the devastation, the misery and heartbreak that's caused by their actions.
Frank Fitzpatrick knows what he's talking about. He's the fire officer for Cross Street, Warramoo in the Blue Mountains west of Sydney. This was Cross Street on Boxing Day last year. Nearly a year on, the bush is coming back. The dozen or so homes that were destroyed are being rebuilt, but the memory is still there.
I wouldn't wish losing your home to anybody.
Glenn Hargraves can't begin to forgive the arsonist who started the blaze which gutted his home.
I wonder how they would feel if I went and just burned their house down, destroyed their cars, TVs, videos, their lifetime collection of whatever they have, records, CDs, etc., and just see what they feel like.
But now, as we battle another bushfire season, we learn that of all the homes destroyed and all the millions it cost in Sydney last summer, just 4 of the 22 arsonists arrested were sent to jail, and only then for a few months. Not anymore.
The offence of deliberately starting a fire, deliberately causing a fire that will burn down the environment and threaten property, not only to have a maximum of 14 years, but a minimum of 5 years. That is.
And New South Wales Attorney-General Bob Debus doesn't care how old the offender is. That minimum 5 years in jail will still apply.
If a juvenile commits an adult crime, then the juvenile must face the consequences.
It's welcome news in Cross Street.
To me, it's something that's long overdue.
They need to clamp down on them.
But jailing juveniles has its critics.
But it is pointless, absolutely pointless, in locking up any juvenile for 5 years. Pointless.
Barbara Holborough is a retired children's court magistrate.
It's not going to re-educate, rehabilitate the child. In my view, what should be happening is that if we want to use the term of 5 years, for the next 5 years, every weekend they work voluntarily in the burns unit at our main hospitals.
What do you learn in jail about the damage you've done to other people? The stand from the cat box is still...
Peter and Kathy McRae, who lost their home last weekend in the deliberately lit fires at Mittagong, southwest of Sydney, are also wary of jailing firebugs.
If the owners of the property that have sustained the losses were prepared to have the perpetrators work on site with them, they could have it tearing their hands apart in the rubble or receiving the burns that we receive through our feet and through the terracotta tiles burning into your face and the glares of people driving past. I think maybe that might strike more, more positive response.
The man in charge of hunting down arsonists, Assistant Police Commissioner John Laycock, says the law will have compassion.
Obviously, if you've got a 9-year-old lotting a garbage bin in the local park, you're not going to sentence that child to 5 years.
But if you go into the bush and...
If you're going to light fires, be prepared to go to jail for a long time.
Yep, Brady Hall's with that report. And now to one family's campaign to put a repeat drink driver behind bars. He was already disqualified from driving when he got behind the wheel last month and crashed into a car, inflicting serious injuries on a 19-year-old girl. But despite his blatant disregard for the law, this man escaped with a fine and suspension of his licence. The victim's family say he should be in jail.
I want him to pay for what he's done because he got away with it. He's got away with something that he shouldn't have got away with. Simple as that.
His name is Judd Gould, and he's a very lucky man. Lucky not to be in jail, and lucky his 19-year-old victim is still alive to tell her story. Did he come and help you?
No.
He didn't come and help you?
No, he stood in his car.
On the night of Friday, October 9, Judd Gould was seen drinking heavily at this union training centre in suburban Welshpool. He has a history of drink driving, his latest conviction just 8 months ago. But that didn't stop him taking off in his four-wheel drive. 5 kilometres down the road, he slammed into the back of Alyssa Burgess and her mum Jill at a traffic light.
I thought the world was coming to an end. I didn't realise it was a traffic accident, a car accident.
Alyssa had broken her neck. She spent 5 hours in surgery as doctors took bone from her hip and went in through her throat to repair vertebrae with a metal plate. Did he appear drunk?
He staggered. It was swayed. Swayed. You know, I've seen a lot of men, you know, drunk, women drunk, and, you know, no, he was drunk.
Did he show any remorse?
No. None whatsoever.
Judd Gould appeared in this courthouse for 10 minutes. The only charges he faced were for refusing a breath test and a blood test. But in the few minutes he stood in the dock awaiting sentence, there was no reference made to his victim, Alyssa Burgess, or her debilitating injuries. The police didn't mention her name. The magistrate didn't ask whether anyone was hurt in the crash. In fact, as far as the court was concerned, there was no victim in this accident, and Alyssa Burgess simply didn't exist. How many times have you rung police?
4 or 5 times.
And how many times have they rung you?
None. None. Not once.
Did the police tell you to back off?
Let them do the investigating, not me. You feeling what?
I'm a bit nervous, but just go slow.
Yep, not a problem.
Chris Burgess has been told his daughter could have lifelong injuries as a result of this accident. That at the very least, she'll suffer severe arthritis in her neck from an early age. He is furious that Judd Gould was able to avoid a jail term by refusing to give a breath test and a blood test. And let's not forget, police stopped Alyssa's ambulance so she could blow in the bag. Should he be allowed to refuse a breath test and a blood test?
No, I don't believe so. Not at all. I think they should be made to take a blood test.
Marilyn Southern is from the group Australian Parents Against Road Trauma. She says Judd Gould should be behind bars.
Well, the mind boggles. I mean, he should have been charged with causing, if not grievous bodily harm, then certainly dangerous driving, causing injury.
Why did you refuse the breath test? Was it because, you know, you'd been done so many times before that you knew they were going to put you in jail? Do you want to say anything to the Burgess family, Judd? Anything at all? You know, their 19-year-old daughter's got lifelong injuries.
Judd Gould was fined $3,200 and on the back of another drink driving conviction in February, lost his driver's licence for life. But while police maintain their investigation is ongoing, Judd Gould told us he's had no contact from police since the night of the accident almost a month ago. Has he got away with it?
I hope he hasn't. I hope there's enough public interest after this that there is some stirring up, particularly by the police department, so that he does get charged and will end up behind bars.
When we caught up with Judd, he was in the bottle shop, still showing no signs of remorse.
Why haven't you been in contact with Alyssa? You haven't made any contact. You might want to check how she's going.
Look, you're just going to refer all questions you've got to my lawyer, Slater and Gordon.
Well, you know, you broke your neck. You would think you'd want to ring her up and see how she's going, wouldn't you?
I said to him, my exact words were, "You're a very lucky man." And he said, "Why is that?" I said, "Because if you would have killed my family or hurt my family, you'd be dead right now."
You got anything to say to that family, Judd? Like a sorry?
Apparently not. Ros Thomas with that report. And following our intervention, police finally took statements today from the Burgess family about that crash. We're told a decision on further charges against Judd Gould will be made when their investigation is complete, and we'll keep an eye on it. Up next, that mobile phone challenge. Heavy users trying to live without one.
My mobile is the main thing in my life.
No mobile at all for 1 week?
Okay.
How do you think you'll go?
Good, I hope. It's going to be hard, though.
In little more than a decade, Australia has become a nation almost obsessed with mobile phones and text messaging. There are now more than 12 million mobiles in use around the country. And this year, we'll spend more than $5 billion to keep them ringing. Some users confess they find phone contact so addictive, they're not sure they could live without it. So, let's find out.
Jared.
Hello.
Hello. Bianca and Lauren are self-confessed mobile phone addicts, and their obsession is costing them money.
Bye.
That's my phone bill for 2 months, and as you can see, it's $664.
The highest I've ever had is about $300.
For 1 month?
Yeah.
And how much is this bill here?
This bill's $350.
So essentially, you're working just to support your habit.
Yes, I am.
Do you think you have a problem at all?
Yeah, I think I do.
I think people become very dependent on their mobiles. Like, I can't go out without my mobile. I can't do anything without my mobile. My mobile's got to be on all the time.
Psychologist Evelyn Field says dependency on mobile phones can be a problem.
Well, I guess it's people who are saying my self-esteem is low, so I need the mobile phone to make me feel good. I need it to give me a sense of power, to say to the world, look, I'm a social animal, I'm popular, people ring me.
How bad is Lauren with her phone?
Real bad. Last night, we went to bed about 9:30. Her phone did not stop beeping until about 11 o'clock. Hello. Hi.
It's a convenience thing, I think. It's just easier to, like, you rip it out of your pocket and you just use it. It's there.
Could you live without your phone?
Not sure. I don't know.
In a bid to see just how hooked these phone freaks are, we're going to disconnect them.
Lauren, I'm afraid the time has come. It's time to hand over the phone.
No, I'm not going to open my phone for a week.
I really have to go. Okay, bye.
Each will surrender their phone and see if they can survive for 1 week.
My mobile is very important in my life. It is my main thing in my life. It's how I socialise.
I definitely couldn't manage without my mobile.
I reckon I'll go insane.
I think they'll find it quite hard.
Why?
Because it's like another part of their body, I think, in a way. You know, this is me and this is my mobile phone and this is part of my existence. I don't go anywhere without it. This is my identity. This says I am okay.
And we've taken that away from them.
Yes.
Oh, this is driving me crazy. Hello.
4 days in, and Lauren is struggling.
It's been hell. My friends have been ringing me really late on the house phone. Usually they just send a message and I'd wake up to that, but I don't like running up and getting the house phone.
Missed it most usually at nights when people tried to call me using free time and stuff like that. That was the biggest time I missed it. I just really need to make a phone call. You mind if I use your phone? Yeah, sure.
Finding any other phone is difficult for Jared and Bianca.
Just letting you know I'm going to be about 15, 20 minutes late for my appointment.
Sometimes people think that, you know, I can text all day, I can phone all day, and that is a good replacement for real, true, intimate friends.
Evelyn Field says that while our exercise is in good fun, it's also an important reminder.
We've got to sit and listen. We've got to laugh. We've got to perhaps cry together. We've got to have some sort of meaningful conversation. That brings people together.
And you can't do that over the mobile?
You can't do it over the mobile.
Thanks, man.
Jared, Bianca and Lauren all survived the week without their phones. But could they do it forever?
No, I don't think I could live without my mobile at all.
I learnt that I don't need to use my phone as often as I did, or as often as I need to, and that I still need it, but just to be more careful.
Well, I think that after a week of not having a mobile, they might realise that it is just a piece of machinery, and yes, they can live without it.
I'm happy I tried it. It was interesting living without it for a week. It just proved to me I don't need it, and it's just a convenience thing. But I learnt that I don't need my phone. It's just there. It's just there for me to waste money.
Ben McCormack reporting there. And Telstra expect that within 2 years, more than half of all young Australians between the ages of 14 and 24 will own a mobile. Coming up, Paul Clitheroe's guide to investing in shares or property. When it comes to investing money, two of the most popular options are property and shares. Their fortunes have been fluctuating lately. The property boom has seen house prices in most of our capital cities skyrocket, while at the same time share-based investments such as superannuation have been performing poorly. Well, in his regular financial segment tonight, Paul Clitheroe examines the pros and cons of property and shares and which makes the better investment in the short and long term.
1,175,000, you'll acknowledge your bid.
Property or shares, which is best?
Shares do pretty well compared to property, I think.
Definitely property, definitely. You can live in it. I mean, you can't live in shares.
The advantage with equity is you can buy something and sell it straight away. The problem with property, if you buy something, you can't sell it straight away, and that can be the real problem.
While many investors love to put their money into the stock market, others like Liz Irwin and fiancé Darren Daly prefer the security of good old-fashioned bricks and mortar.
We're going to extend the kitchen and the dining room out about 3 metres, new bathroom and laundry.
Well, I guess here you really can't overcapitalise, can you?
No.
5 years ago, they bought their home in Kingsgrove in Sydney's southern suburbs for $228,000. After spending $6,000 on renovations, it's now worth around $450,000. Did you think it would double in 5 years, practically?
No, not at all. It's amazing.
Don't forget that with any property purchase, there's a whole bunch of costs. Things like stamp duty, conveyancing, and of course legal fees. But I really don't think that Darren and Liz are too worried, because their property has increased in value by over $200,000. That's more than $40,000 a year for each year that they've owned it. Now that's a good return. In fact, it's a really good return, because if they put their money into shares, there'd be just $64,000 in front. So by buying property over the 5 years, rather than buying shares, not only have they had somewhere to live, they've ended up $150,000 in front with that single decision. I don't think there's ever any doubt in your mind about shares or property, was there, Darren?
No, not at all.
Why?
Well, it's something we need, and to have a house, it's a big bonus, and not having to pay rent and just being able to sleep at night a lot easier, knowing that you're financially secure.
Put the money in the house, in the property, anything, investment, property, not shares.
But our analysis doesn't take into account some important factors. If they'd put their money into shares, the interest on the loan to buy them as an investment, unlike their home, would have been tax deductible. However, you can't live in shares, you need a roof over your head. So they'd have to fork out for rent for the last 5 years. So in this period, property is the clear winner. But what about shares versus property over the longer term? Well, this is the first house that I ever owned, here on Sydney's lower North Shore, and I bought it nearly 20 years ago, back in 1982. I paid a little bit over $90,000 for it, and today, would you believe, it's worth $700,000. Now, that's a fantastic result, but if I'd put the same amount of money into shares, today I'd have a cool $1.25 million. Look, all this proves is that both property and shares have been terrific investments. Sure, shares have outperformed property over the long term, but the recent property boom has shown us that good homes in good growth areas can also pay off big time for investors. But regardless of which one you choose, be sure to follow my basic rules.
1 million 60 now, 70 straight back, sir. 1 million 70
When
now.
buying
1 million
property,
70 now.
go for growth suburbs. Look for new world facilities, transport, restaurants, parks or a beach. Avoid marketing seminars where you're likely to pay too much for off-the-plan properties. If it's shares, don't invest in companies you don't understand. Look for a history of profitability. Check out the company's management and its board. And invest in companies in growth areas of the economy, such as health, tourism, banking and finance.
I mean, I guess you've got to look for something that's got earnings and, you know, good solid sort of stocks, you know, things like Woolworths, Australian Gaslight, those sort of stocks. I think they're the safety sort of ones, but if you're a bit of a punter, I suppose you can have a look at some gold stocks and things like that.
So what should we be doing with our money? Well, to put it quite simply, in many parts of Australia, residential property has doubled over the last 2 years, while at the same time, the average share globally has fallen by around 40%. Even the strong Australian share market has dropped by over 8% this year alone. So while I wouldn't be rushing out to sell my house, I don't think that now is the time to be looking at buying relatively expensive property. Personally, I'd be looking at some bargain price shares.
Paul Clitheroe with his weekly financial segment. And there's more information on choosing the better investment, whether it's shares or property, at our website. There's the address, 9msn.com.au/ACA. Now to an update on the report we brought you last week on car warranties. One of the cases centred on a dispute between a Honda four-wheel drive owner and the manufacturer over damage to the vehicle's differential. Well, Honda have assured us they are satisfied beyond any doubt that the damage was not caused by any manufacturing fault or defect. And Honda also point out that the owner's insurance company paid up for repair of the vehicle, despite the owner's claim that it should have been covered by warranty. Back in a moment. Tomorrow night we examine bargain holidays right across Australia. We'll show you where to find the best deals at quality locations on a budget everyone can afford.
You know, when you have kids, you really do think twice about where you're going to go with them.
And really everything's here at the resort, so you don't have to go anywhere.
There are also lots of activities for both parents and the kids.
It's really child-friendly. And then again, if you haven't got children, it's got another side to it.
Lots of freebies, which is great.
Tammy Faraday with that Consumer Report tomorrow. Hope you can join us again then. Good night.